welcome to the Real Estate Corner with Aaron and Suze. This is our very first podcast. Thank you, everybody who viewed our premiere and for subscribing. We appreciate that. And today we're fortunate to have Suzie, our very own paralegal at the McCormick Law Firm, with us. Or as I like to call her, the Squirrel Whisperer. For those of you who know her, you know what that means. And some of us like to also refer to her as the professional potty mouth paralegal. So today I'd like to have Suzie just give you about a 90-second introduction of herself and, how she wound up here at the McCormick Law Firm, her background, and where she's from. So Suzie, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. And again, thank you, Aaron, for that lovely intro. Yes, I'm sometimes known as the professional potty mouth paralegal. I joined Aaron back in January of 2019. So it's been a great relationship so far, of course. Yes, real estate. Yeah, I dive into real estate. I've been doing it, I believe, like over 10 years now. So, and I'm still learning new stuff every day, especially in this market. I definitely enjoyed real estate. There's good days, there's wild days, and there are fun days. So, yes.
Don't forget the crazy days.
A good kind of crazy. So I'm going to have Aaron, just kind of give you guys an idea of what to expect on our first and many to come, our real estate podcast corner. So Aaron.
Yeah, so we talked about what we'd be doing in our first premiere video, and Suzie and I were talking about, what we'd like to do, why we came with a podcast. One of the reasons we came up with a podcast is we've seen so many things, and I've been an attorney going on 8 years now in November, and just seen a lot of different things, especially with this market the last year since the pandemic started. The way people are buying homes, the way people are conducting transactions, the way business is being done, that's all changed. And so, Suzie and I thought, what better way than to start a series every other week, give people information, answer questions, let people respond, post a question that they might have that we could answer. Unlike some other law firms where you might deal with the attorney once, Suzie and I are very involved with our clients. And so hearing different things, we thought, we'll address some topics that we're getting, questions that we're seeing over and over, which I'm sure others are seeing that as well. So today we thought the topic might be, what are some of the current trends that we're seeing? We're constantly seeing these things come up. People are calling in, asking Suzie information. There's certain things she can and can't answer. And then I'm constantly getting the same questions. I'm having agents call and ask us questions, lenders call and ask us, what do they do with certain things? And throughout this series, we'll be bringing you certain professionals to answer those questions as well. So, Suzie, jump in when you have a comment as well.
Yeah, and, I wanted to maybe, when you say trends, like if I'm a new buyer or a new seller, like what does that actually mean? Because you and I both know what that means, but what exactly does that mean for like a first-time buyer or first-time seller, especially in today's market?
Yeah, so when we talk about trends, I think what we're trying to say is, what are we constantly seeing? What is the trend? And by that, so when we put in an offer in the past, we have a contract that we use, and there's certain expectations, and that has changed. The expectation is that there would be more of a give and take, more of a negotiation. And what we're seeing now is there's not really a two-sided negotiation. We're starting to see more of a one-sided negotiation, although one side doesn't have to just take what's being thrown at them versus the other side take what's being responded with. I think what you're seeing is there's constant themes or trends that are repeats or constants in every real estate transaction. And so there's 4 topics that stand out, or 4 themes that stand out that are constantly coming into our office almost with every single real estate contract, no matter where the property is located in the Chicago metro region, but probably in other attorneys' offices and probably in every single real estate broker's office. I know all the agents we work with are constantly asking us about this. They're attached to every contract as a rider or an addendum. And so one of those is definitely going to be the appraisal gap waiver, appraisal gap addendum. And, you know, be it as it may, that is one of the ways buyers are getting their offers accepted. And people are at, well, what is an appraisal gap
Yes, I
addendum?
was about to
There's
ask
some
you, well, what
buyers.
is an appraisal? Yeah.
Yeah, and that is where a buyer would agree that if the appraisal comes in under the contract purchase price, that they will make up the difference. So how that works is, let's say we're buying a home for $300,000 and the appraisal comes in at 280,000. A buyer might agree that, well, if it comes in under a 280, I'll pay, and whatever that amount is, the difference between 280 and 300. So let's say it's $20,000. You'll make up the difference at 280 to 300. So that's $20,000. And if you don't do that and the deal doesn't close, for sure you would lose your earnest money. There's other things that can happen, but you have to be prepared as a buyer to make up that $20,000 difference or spread. And so you should really have a conversation with your agent before you commit to that. I've had a few
I
clients when I
definitely
get
agree
the
on that. Yeah.
contract in our office. You prepare the file, you give it to me, we talk about it, and then we talk to the client. And some are thinking, well, it's not going to be an issue, and then we have had cases where they weren't really prepared. They didn't think it was going to be an issue, and then it does
Absolutely. Yeah.
does does become an issue. Um,
Yeah.
and I know you've gotten panicked phone calls by people after the appraisal comes in, and then you transfer them to me, and they're freaking out about, well, what am I going to do? In good
Yeah.
faith, in good faith, it's not funny. In good faith, you shouldn't
Right.
sign that unless you really can do it.
Well, is it safe to say that maybe when they did sign that part of the contract, they weren't initially comprehensive about what that meant? And at times that could be. So of course, hindsight, one could say, well, why did you initialize it? Or why? Okay, well, they did, but then maybe no one's really thinking that the appraisal issue is going to happen. But can you safely say, as an attorney in the past, maybe since the pandemic, have you seen much? And I believe we have a lot of appraisal gaps in the contracts. And for me, I said, I believe 99% of the contracts that we get have has that.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say it's a different market since
yeah,
COVID-19. One,
yeah,
the housing supply is not there, the inventory is not there,
hmm
and the other problem is people. Um, I don't want to say are desperate to get into a house.
right. I
The
won't
way
think so either, but
the way
especially
we're
for the first,
working,
yeah, for like the first time buyers, it's a lot of nerves and comprehensive and like understanding the negotiations. And even I have seen, as well as you, on these contracts, the post possession. Now you know how I professionally feel about post possession. Could you maybe elaborate more? Like now we are definitely seeing a lot more post possessions. Like if someone was to ask, well, what does a post possession mean? Like, would I need that, or should I sign off on that? Like, can you maybe give us a little more information on a post possession or what it
uh,
is? And yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And before I do that, just to finish up on the gap addendum, I would
Mm-hmm.
say talk to your agent, work with a really good agent, reach out to us if you need recommendations, we can give you a
Absolutely.
list.
Yeah.
But your agent's definitely going to be able to help you. Talk to your lender. We have lenders we can recommend, and
Mm-hmm.
reach out to us, we can help you with that. But yes, moving on to the post possession, in the contract, it lists how that the terms of what a post possession is, but I'm starting to see more people negotiate that and then regret how they negotiated that. So how a post
Mm.
possession works is, think of it as you're going to put an offer in on a house, and if the offer is accepted, whatever terms have been worked out can be negotiated again through attorney modification. And the post possession essentially is you renting the property back, either if you're the buyer to the seller or the seller is renting it back from the buyer. It's essentially a landlord tenant relationship in the
Mm-hmm.
sense of it's a rental, but the way we like to rent or write our post possessions is we do them as a license, and that's a distinction. It's basically a use of the property, but it's not a landlord tenant relationship.
Right.
However, a man or a woman in a black robe, and in the worst case scenario, might not see it that way if you have to go to court if the seller doesn't leave. Now, I will say, in the time I've been an attorney, I have never experienced a buyer or seller going to court over a post possession. And I think part of that is because the way that fortunately I've drafted the agreements. And fortunately, I've worked with attorneys on the other side who have been very good to work with. And there's
Mm-hmm.
not been issues of getting either party in or out of the house. Yes, there has been sometimes a disagreement about the condition, the way the house was left. But that is why there's a security deposit left or an escrow. And the terms, there's an agreement in addition to the contract that should be written. You want to work with a competent agent and attorney to make sure these agreements are drafted. The thing I'm seeing, and you're seeing on these contracts too, are people are negotiating the daily rents, and then
Yes.
they're getting upset about it afterwards. Now the issue
Yes.
is there are some buyers who are purchasing with an FHA or VA loan, and as you know, veterans and first responders are very important to me. My brother's a veteran, your husband is a veteran. And then when the contract comes in, the seller doesn't want to agree to change the daily cost. And people don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily know the daily cost of their loan. So they may negotiate less than what they should be getting to cover
Right.
their
You don't even know
costs.
it. I don't even know it. Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. The lender may not know it yet because they haven't put together their loan and things may change.
Exactly. So it's amazing. And I use that term loosely, how they come up with these numbers. I'm like, okay, that's nice.
So the thing there is, I had recently we had a client who accepted $62 a day. The agent negotiated that up for them when the seller wanted to give less than that. And then we found out that their daily cost was $72 a day. And the issue is in the contract, the going rate is principal, interest, taxes, insurance. What I
Yes.
do is when I see that, I also amended my attorney modification letter. Um, that will include mortgage insurance or PMI if that's going to be required. Prior to this market, we used to have more flexibility to amend certain things.
Absolutely.
The
I miss those
sellers,
days.
yeah, those were the good old days.
Oh
Uh,
gosh, yes.
the sellers are not really being flexible or willing to change because they think it is truly a seller's market. What I advise sellers, and I'm
Mhm.
sure you've heard me say this, is although it may tend to be a seller's market, please keep in mind we're all sick of hearing about COVID. It still
Ah,
does exist,
very
and the
true.
labor market, interest rates, and other considerations should be taken
Yeah, it's a
into.
domino effect. Yeah.
Don't a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Don't just think you can have everything you want because you can. Things could change tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is not promised. So
Very true. You have a contract, those terms could change slightly thereof, as they say. But yeah. So, like I said, I missed it. I missed the old days of pre-COVID. But
the
again, you know what? We learn something new every day, and I think on the upside of the change market, I mean, you and I have learned. I mean, we learn new things every day. Surprisingly, new things, good and bad, but it's still, however, a learning experiences. Oh yeah, and, and I'll leave it as that.
I think the other one that I'm starting to see, and you are too, more and more, and one that actually just happened and killed a transaction yesterday was We have a client who's moving who has a place in Wisconsin, but they're dual citizens and their primary home is in Canada. And
Yes. Yes.
they entered to buy a home and somewhere in Kane County, and
Mm-hmm.
they, in good faith, said, "Let me buy your home." They paid 10 grand, I believe, over the price of the
Yes.
listing.
Mm-hmm.
They had a specific date. They're relocating their business from Canada to here. Their children are coming here for school to attend a university in Illinois, and the sellers never mentioned anything about a reverse contingency. And people who are not familiar with reverse contingency will be after I explain this. But instead of the listing agents or the sellers, and I really believe the sellers probably did not say anything to their listing agent or their attorney until after the contract was accepted, um, you know, sprung it on everybody after we got into the contract,
Yeah.
got into attorney modifications, and then the buyers had already paid $800 for a home inspection and a radon test. So what is a reverse contingency? You're seeing this more and more now.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really dealt with this, although I did here and there, but never really dealt with this until this market. That
Right.
is where the seller says, I will sell you my house after I locate a piece of real estate that's going to work for me. And if I can't find a home that's going to work, then I don't have to sell you my house and I can cancel the contract by a certain date or up until the closing date. So think of it as a home sale contingency. The buyer is not obligated to close on the seller's house until they sell their house or until they have a contract in place.
Yeah.
Um, now the sellers are doing that. So, on the one hand, we have a contract that has language in there that the buyers don't have to sell, but you're not really seeing home sale contingencies anymore. Sellers are not accepting them. The sellers have decided during attorney modifications, they'll write themselves a nice little contingency that they don't have to sell. So if you are in good faith going to need a home or a reverse contingency where you're going to need to stand as the seller, I would strongly urge you, please be upfront and honest with your agent. Please be upfront and honest with your attorney. Let
Absolutely.
let the buyer's agent know that through your agent and your attorney, so that sellers, especially cash sellers, cash buyers, excuse me, know this up front,
Mm,
because where this home was located in Kane County, Illinois, the particular type of home, the amount that it was being paid for, that particular area, the homes don't sell very quickly. So I think those sellers shot themselves in the foot. And the home, I believe, was not a home that was on the market for a few days. I believe it was on there for a while. So
right.
those
Yeah.
sellers made a very bad decision. In fact, our clients decided to give them an extra 2 weeks past the closing date to try to work with them, but the sellers decided it was better to not work something out and just kill the deal. So
Yeah. Like I said, I've been doing real estate, year longer, I longer, it doesn't really matter. But definitely things have changed. Um, it's not either for the better or for worse, but it's definitely changed. And you and I, of course, have seen some things that that we maybe heard about, but we're now experiencing. And it's challenging, yes, but we do get through it, of course, for us, and of course, mainly for our clients, regardless of buyer or seller. Also, like for, if you could give us a few minutes, if you wouldn't mind, like for a first time buyer, I think some of them may not be aware, oh, I just signed in a contract, I just accepted a contract. I don't think they really comprehend or maybe know, like when does the attorney review period start after the acceptance of the contract on both sides? Maybe,
yes,
yeah,
so that's one that I'm getting a lot too, is that there's a lot of confusion. And
yeah.
one of our next video series or podcast will be on just a quick refresher how the 7.0 contract works.
Yeah.
That is one of the topics or questions we're getting a lot on. It's 5 business days after the date of acceptance, and It's the weekends do not count, federal holidays don't count.
There's some confusion there. Yes.
So if we get a contract, say, accepted on Thursday, then it would be Friday and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that
Right.
Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of the next week. That Saturday and Sunday are not going to count. So you'll have till 6 p.m. of the Thursday afterwards. So
Right.
you would have some
Okay.
time to get
Yeah.
everything done, inspection, and if you're going to need an extension, which is what I'm starting to see because home inspectors are overwhelmed, um, trying to get into the house. If you're doing a radon test,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the home inspector can't set up the radon test because they're not licensed or they don't do radon testing. You might need extra time, or we might need time to get the results back. So the way I'll
Right.
handle that
Yeah.
is I'll just ask for the right to reserve radon testing when I send out the modification letter. And if it's elevated, ask for that. And so we'll ask for a right to, hey, if the radon comes in at 4.0 or higher, my clients might ask for this. And we'll, in our next, I think, podcast, we'll
One
talk
of the
about
one of our upcoming podcasts. Yes, I think maybe we should maybe.
as is. Yeah.
Yes, there's an the as is because I've been seeing it a lot as you, and I really don't think from my perspective and maybe yours as well that most of our clients are not sure what that is. I said maybe at the time, but of course, one never knows. You put an offer on a home, and of course you do an inspection. One never knows until that inspection comes out what you're going to find. And there goes this was get well, as they say, there goes the as is. And then, and I say that term loosely because you and I both know that we know what as is means, but now we have to fully explain to our clients what you actually signed on. And even though you did do an inspection, well, the as is sort of stands, doesn't really matter what this inspection report say to some extent. Could you maybe give us maybe a few tips on that if we have some time, I believe?
Yeah. So the agents we work with, I know, do a very good job explaining what as is means, but it's like a young child or a teenage child.
Oh, dear
The
God.
you can only counsel and advise clients so much. And the agents we work with, I know from talking to them, set the expectation of if you're going to put in an offer on as is, um, you know, maybe you don't want to waive your inspection because that is an option, and I don't necessarily encourage that. But
Yeah.
if you're definitely doing it as is property, that means that you do your inspection and you buy the home or you don't. However, for certain issues, how I work with clients on that is if they're major issues, let's talk and come up with a strategy.
And when you say major issues, I didn't want to interrupt you, like what few little things or what things that you consider major?
So we always refer to them as health or safety issues. That's not what the
Mhm.
contract says. The contract says it's as is. Do your inspection, buy the home or don't buy the home. But if there are major issues, what we consider health and safety, that would be things that we talk about not being able to see when
Mhm.
we go into the home and they're radon, they're mold in the attic. And I know that people will joke and say, well, it's discoloration, it's not really mold, it's a mold-like substance. Um, but things
It
that
could
we
be it could be a fuzzball. It could be a dust bunny. I mean, I'm not trying to be no.
but in all reality, we can't see those things. So what
Right.
what what the contract says is it's as is, and it's still a real estate contract. Contract law and
Hmm.
transactional law still apply to this document. So we're not supposed to be asking for anything. But what I tell clients before they panic and just kill the deal, let me talk to the other attorney. And how I present that information to the seller's attorney, if we're on the buy side of the deal, is look at you have buyers who want to buy this home, but there's X, Y, and Z. Nobody could have seen that. They're not a home inspector. They didn't know. And especially with
True.
radon, if another buyer comes in and tests it, you're going to be dealing with the same thing. especially in certain price points.
Mm-hmm.
Buyers are probably not going to deal with this, and
Right.
it might behoove your seller to just address this or provide a credit rather than having to go back on the market. And the second issue is if you're doing an FHA or VA transaction, the appraiser is going to go in and do its own inspection. And so with that being the case, the loan has subject to, meaning these items have to be taken care of for the home to be given a loan, for the loan to go through. I'll talk to the seller's attorney and say, look, my client might have signed as is. There's an FHA addendum. And if these items aren't taken care of, then my client doesn't have to go through with purchasing your home. And we all know that the VA FHA appraisal stick to the home for 6 months or 180 days. That may or may not have any weight to it, but at the end of the
Right.
day, the whole goal is to get everybody to come to the closing table. And so with two good agents and two good attorneys, there's usually a way to get the issue resolved. So in good faith, no, you shouldn't be asking for anything. But before the deal is dead, before it falls apart, there's usually some way you can present some of those items, depending on what they are, to the other attorney.
Okay,
So
good. So there is still hope, as they say, for the as is buyer. So
yes.
yes. You mentioned radon a few times. Um, yes, every home, I believe, in Illinois is going to have some sort of level of radon. But could you briefly, if discuss like what's the percentage of radon that's acceptable, if that's a term I could use, and what is not that should need radon mitigation?
So what I would say is, I'm not a radon testing professional,
Neither do I, but of
but
course we do see it on every more or less contract.
but the pamphlet that is provided to every buyer, the
Mm-hmm,
documentation and disclosures that have to be signed by sellers and not by buyers. And
mm-hmm.
if you go to the EPA or Illinois EPA website, it tells you at 4.0 or above, that would be considered an unsafe action level. And so it's an odorless, colorless, tasteless. It has no smell or anything. You can't see it.
And what
Probably
should
where
our
you,
clients do? I'm so sorry if it's
yeah.
above the 4 point. Yeah.
So above 4.0, they're supposed to hire a mitigation company and have an active mitigation system installed. In new construction, the builder will put in an passive mitigation system. The difference between the two systems is passive is just a tube that runs out through the building, through the home, and it's supposed to take out the radon gas. In an active system, there is a fan component, and that's supposed to help additionally pull out radon gas from the property. So where you and I are sitting, there's probably radon here. It's just what is the level of radon, and
Absolutely.
prolonged exposure can have a health impact on on your body. The issue is the short radon test that is done, and I'm not saying you should not do the radon test. The
Right.
short radon test may not be as accurate. There's debate on this as a long radon test. You should, if you want to do the radon test, get it done at the time of your home inspection. You can research these topics, look at the literature, look at the uh, you know research that's been done. But I would say do a radon test at the time of your home inspection if you would like to do one. Don't do the radon test after the contingency period for home inspections has passed, because then you have to request an extension and the seller is not obligated to do that for you. So
Yeah.
always try to do it at the same time as you set up your home inspection.
Okay, thank you. So I think for this first
Yep.
podcast, we actually dove into a lot of information. So I definitely think that we should maybe have some other podcasts. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of information here, and
Yes,
our office does offer a free consultation if you're looking to
yes,
get more information on anything related to real estate. We're happy to
yeah.
help, whether you're an
Before you put
agent
in an
just
offer
looking
or
to.
sign an offer, and yeah,
Yep.
we definitely want to educate our buyers and or sellers before they sign on a dotted line. And yeah,
And if you're looking for an attorney to help you, we're definitely happy to do that. If you have questions Or if you have squirrels that need some attention, Susie will definitely reach out to them.
Well, that too. Well, if you look at an attorney's office, I definitely would recommend using us. But of course, I know that we're not the only attorney office in town. But we seem to do a pretty good job, if I may say so.
Well, and our reviews online, I think, say that too.
Well, yes.
I'm biased though, but so definitely feel free to reach out. You can find our contact information on our YouTube banner. Feel free to subscribe or leave a line for us, and we look forward to hearing from you. Until
yes, and any open topics that we could touch base on or give you guys, any information on, we're definitely open to suggestions of topics that may or may not be around real estate, but yeah, we're open to any suggestions. Yeah.
Until the next podcast, happy closing, and thanks for watching.
Yes, and seeing it as Mother's Day weekend, happy Mother's Day for all of those who are moms. This is to mention our first podcast, so we're very excited we definitely wanted to do this a while ago, but yeah, we're definitely excited to see where this could lead us and just educate everyone who who actually knows somebody who's either buying or selling. And yeah, we're just excited about this, and thank you for those who subscribe and those who are about to subscribe.
And that's where I'm headed next.
Yes, and Aaron, thank you for your time.
And thank you for doing this, Susie.
My pleasure. My pleasure. All right, until next time.
Happy closing.
Happy closing.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.